Hello YouTube and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. It's after Christmas and Kunos has given us all a Christmas present, and that is the RUF CTR2, not CTR2, sorry, CTR1,
yeah.
The original CTR, otherwise known as the Yellowbird. I've never driven this, so I wanted to do some practice laps, but these two here just told me just go straight out without doing any practice laps. So my first attempt in this car, and let's see what happens. We're going to talk a bit about what this car is, because this is the biggest update to date for Assetto Corsa after the full release, and we'll see what happens.
Right, yeah, so before you, as you start off, I just want to say a few things. I mean, I watched the video for the record-breaking lap on Nürburgring, and I tell you what, he was manhandling the steering wheel. I was looking at him thinking, wow.
And if I have to manhandle the steering wheel in this, then we're going to know that it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and you're going to have big biceps by the end of the lap.
I know, I already feel it.
Was it difficult to drive? I mean, comparing to the F40?
Yes, yes. And the reason we compare it to the F40 is because it came out around a similar time. And while it was slower from 0 to 60 than the F40 and the Porsche 959, it was much faster. 200 miles an hour for the Porsche, 201 miles an hour for the Ferrari, and 211 miles an hour for the Yellowbird.
I saw on some statistics it said up to 211 miles per hour it reached as a top speed, the top speed.
Yeah.
But I mean, shall we give a bit of background information regarding the RUF? But before we go into that, we'd just like to thank EA.
Yeah, we'd like to thank EA for not allowing anyone else to have Porsches, and therefore allowing us to have cars like the Yellowbird.
Yeah, I mean, which is not a bad thing. But what I'm saying is, the Porsche and the RUF are separate cars. I mean, they've got the same chassis. We know that, but they're totally separate. And that's, I mean, I didn't know this. I'm not gonna lie to you until I read up on it over the past week.
Yeah.
And I realised that they're a completely different manufacturer. They've just got the chassis, and they input everything else into that chassis.
For example, for this particular Yellowbird, which you can see me manhandling already.
Yeah.
For this particular Yellowbird, they built 29 of them. And then what they will do is that on customer request, they did take customers' Porsches and completely strip them out and turn them into Yellowbirds, because they are using the chassis which, like you mentioned, they use the chassis from the Porsche. It's called a what's it called?
Is it sorry?
Oh gosh.
Have you all had a blank?
Yeah, just
body in white.
Body in white.
But
that's the one.
it. Yeah.
You only knew that because you read it up somewhere, didn't you?
Yes, I read it.
It's called a body in white chassis, which means that everything's welded together. So the whole chassis is sort of ready for production and putting the bodywork and the lights and wipers and doors and everything on. But there are no moving parts onto it, and that includes the engine. The engines are not Porsche engines. They may sound like Porsche engines, they may look like Porsche engines, and they have the same configuration. So when we talk about the engine in a few moments, you'll see it's a very similar configuration to a normal Porsche, but it's not a Porsche engine. So that's something important to remember. They are two different cars, and EA knows this very well. But everyone else, hey, personally, I think we get the better cars, because these cars are sort of Porsche to the next level, in a sense.
All right, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to put my hand up here and say, I used to call it Porsche until probably about a year ago, and now you've been saying Porsche.
Yeah, but it depends on the accent. People pronounce.
No, but I think it's
pronounced Porsche.
And I've always said Porsche, and when you say Porsche, all I can hear in my head is what's this hamster from Top Gear saying Porsche, Porsche,
Porsche, yeah.
But yeah, it's Porsche.
It is Porsche, but then again, most people say Porsche. It's very easy to get in English. It's very easy to see. It's an E, and you're pronouncing the O.
Yeah.
Porsche.
Yeah.
It's
we tend to forget about it.
But it is Porsche. At least I think it's Porsche. As far as I know, it is
Porsche. Does it really matter?
Richard Hammond says Porsche, therefore it must be Porsche, because he is a Porsche fanatic.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Right. So let's not talk about Porsche anymore. Let's talk about this.
Porsche. We'll go with Porsche.
Let's talk about this Yellowbird, which, as you can see, I am manhandling around Spa. So let's talk a bit about the specs first, and we'll talk a bit about the specs, the color, and why it's called Yellowbird.
The color is yellow.
Yeah, and
it is called Yellowbird because of its paintwork.
It is because of its paintwork. It shines out. It's very, very contrast against the road, and that's kind of what gave it that look, especially on the Nürburgring. If you watch the video of it on the Nürburgring, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Oh well, it does.
Yeah.
And anything yellow does.
And there goes my first
Ooh.
slide of the day. I tried to catch it. It's
Would have been a
very,
really
very,
nice catch if you had it.
it's very difficult, very difficult. But anyway, forget that for a moment. Specs.
So it's a 3 point. Would you round it off? Or
You'd
just
round
leave
it up, so it'd be a 3.4 litre.
Okay, so it's a 3.4 litre twin turbocharged flat 6 engine, 5-speed manual producing 469 brake horsepower with 408 pounds of torque. So you must have really felt it.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't that I felt the most. The 0 to 60 was, like I said, slower than a Ferrari, but they're slower than the F40. That is. There is something to be said though about the acceleration of this Yellowbird, and the thing is that in first gear and second gear, the revs jump up like crazy.
Just very responsive.
Very, very responsive. The throttle response is absolutely instant. Similar to the Ferrari, the difference is the Ferrari had this insane turbo lag from 0 to 4,000 revs.
And this doesn't seem to have that lag.
This doesn't have the same amount of lag. So it's not... We just have some water for
Yeah, I thought. Yeah.
It must have been kind of inflated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Back to where we were.
Yeah.
So, the Ferrari had turbo lag. This doesn't seem to have the same. It still has a bit of turbo lag, but it doesn't have the same amount, and that makes it more difficult to drive. And
bit-
shifting through first, second, third very quickly.
On top of that, it's a rear-wheel drive, which is going to be even more of a challenge.
And to make it worse, not only is it rear-wheel drive, it's a rear engine. It's not even a mid-engine like a
is
Ferrari.
true.
Oh, okay,
It's
yeah.
a rear
Yeah,
engine,
yeah, yeah.
rear-wheel
With Porsche,
drive.
Yeah.
So when you were braking, it was also trail braking, wasn't it? A lot.
When I was
That's all.
braking, I was all over the place. It squirreled like mad. It squirrels like crazy. The thing is about this car is that there we go. You can just see. I'm just tapping the brakes, and I've got a steering wheel left, right, left, right, left, right. That's not me doing that. That's not just the Assetto Corsa and the simulation just misreading the inputs on my steering wheel. I was actually physically shaking the steering wheel around. I have to admit though, I think there is one thing wrong with this car, and I don't know whether it's just me, maybe others who drive this car. You might be able to either say yes, yeah, you're right, or no, you're completely wrong. The steering wheel feels really light in a Assetto Corsa, and considering this car's from 1987,
There was no such thing as power steering.
it should be a very heavy steering wheel. And I know that some of the other cars have heavier steering
For
wheels.
what, and also, for what,
And I'm gone.
I mean, while we mentioned the steering wheel, it looks different to what I saw
On the video.
On the
video.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not. It's. I mean, that looks more sort of. How can we put it?
It's
Newer?
more of a standard. Yeah, it's
newer. I mean, the other one sort of just was like a little, strand, like the old Golf steering
Yeah.
wheels. The old Mark
just
II,
one
Mark
bar
I.
across the middle.
Yeah.
This is more like a proper 3-spoke steering wheel.
Yeah.
But I'm not complaining about it. I don't think that's.
No,
I think what
yeah.
it was. I think what it is that they did change the steering wheel.
Right. Okay.
So
Is that
but-
what?
So
yeah.
this is probably the later version of this
Got
car.
you, got you.
But you can see I'm going wide here. It's very difficult to drive this car, and I know a lot of people are probably going to say, "Oh, well, you just don't know how to drive the car." But I'll be honest. For anyone who's coming into a Assetto Corsa, anyone who wants to know how to drive this car, you want to be extremely, extremely careful on turning and braking before a
Yeah,
corner.
break. Yeah, but and
It's
then
so
And
important.
then obviously accelerating as you exit.
Yeah,
As-
I mean the acceleration isn't as bad because as long as you can keep traction through a corner, you shouldn't have a problem flooring it once you're out. But getting the traction through the corner, keeping that traction through the corner, that's the tough
Is
part.
this the most difficult car you've driven?
I'm just gonna think right now. What other cars? What car
LaFerrari?
was more difficult? LaFerrari wasn't difficult.
No.
The LaFerrari is not a difficult car to drive. It's fast. It's very fast, but it's not difficult. Plus, that being said, it's got paddle shifters.
Oh, yeah,
And I was looking left and right there because I just noticed the size of the mirrors,
Yeah.
which are
Very tiny.
tiny.
I think but I think that's what they are on a Porsche. aren't they?
That's what they are
Yeah.
on Porsches, and
So-
obviously RUF are going to do exactly the same thing. But I'm just thinking, what cars have I driven that could be more difficult than this? The Formula 1 cars are more difficult to drive because it's faster. The thing is with the Formula 1 cars though is once you're up to speed, you're okay.
Yeah.
They've got a massive amount of grip. As long as you don't go beyond its limits, you're fine. And the problem is that most of us can't get to that limit because we're too afraid to put that foot down. We will brake far too early, and when you get to that limit, you feel confident. On this car, the limit's always changing, and it's not because the car's just completely dynamic. It's because the car responds to the road very differently from, let's say, Formula 1 car, very differently from a standard road car. You know, your Toyota Corollas and your BMWs.
Toyota Corollas.
Well, it's true though. You talk Toyota Corolla, it's a standard road car.
Yeah.
You know, your BMW 3 Series, those cars, they respond to the road very, very well, and they take it all in the suspension and everything.
Yeah, but I think this is more sort of built
This
for...
car's very stiffly spun.
Yeah, I think it's built for the circuit, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got. It's designed to break records. So you'll notice it'll start understeering on one corner just because you might have gone 50 centimeters too far to the right, and you've hit a slight bump. I think if we wait, as I come down to I think this turns Blanchimont coming up, and when I come into this corner, I believe the car just decided to slide. So about to find out, is it this corner? Yeah, there you go. I'm literally just sliding the car around the corner, and it's sort of. I was looking at that and I'm thinking, if I took this corner 6-7 times, I think it would handle differently all 6-7 times. And I think it's really important for anyone who's coming into Assetto Corsa who wants to learn this car to understand that, and to make sure that the crucial part of it is making sure that your entry into the corner is correct. Get the entry slightly wrong, like that.
I mean that just goes
to every car,
not just.
It goes for every car, of course,
but more specifically,
more for
because
a
obviously,
car like this.
Yeah, because you've got not much room for errors, is there? I mean,
No room for error, really.
Do you reckon that the engine placement on the car makes a difference to the handling?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely makes a difference. I mean, that's why Ferrari do mid-engine, because they want to get the weight distribution as centerized and as low as possible.
Yeah.
Porsche decided to do a rear engine, so their chassis are designed for rear engine. Therefore, this Yellowbird has a rear engine, and the reason that is because the cars that these are based off, which is the Volkswagen Beetle, has a rear engine, or at least it used to. Now it doesn't. But if you look at the old, I'm sure most of the people who are watching this video have heard of Herbie.
Yeah.
You look at Herbie, rear engine.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what it felt like driving here. It felt like I was driving something like Herbie. It felt like I was driving a Beetle, very slippery, very small wheels, incredibly fast. Right? And, you know, that is what, I think that's what makes this RUF and this Yellowbird really,
I think
special.
that, I mean, the old Porsches did have a sort of look about them.
They
Beetle
did.
about, didn't they?
They look very
They still do somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, they got sort of like a elongated Beetle.
Yeah, which has then been lowered a bit. And
Yeah.
it is that. But
Yeah.
now we'll do the part that you always like, sound.
Yep,
Yeah.
sound.
He's
well-
a sound man.
Well,
Right, first of all, accuracy of sound. How accurate do you
So-
think this is to the real sound?
let's say well, I saw you driving it and I heard the blow off valve and I was like, wow, that is actually really nice. And according to Wikipedia, it sounds like a canary. I'm not
It
sure
does
how to
actually.
do
No,
that.
it does, because if you let off the throttle really quickly,
Yeah.
it makes that chirp.
Yeah.
Huh?
It does make that chirp. So
That's why,
Um,
and that's why it's called the yellow. Well, it helped.
it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one, the fact that it's yellow.
Yeah.
Although there is a mod on Race Department which will link you to where you can get more colours if you don't want to be a traditionalist and go with yellow.
I would probably change it to
There-
a nice electric blue.
I thought it
I
looked
think
pretty
that
good in
I
white.
think a nice green would go with
Green
the
would go.
Porsches.
Yeah, I think for me it'd definitely electric blue.
For me,
But-
it's
yeah.
a Yellowbird, so I wouldn't want to have it in any other colour apart from yellow.
Anyways, let's get back onto the sound.
But yeah, the sound. So,
Right, so-
what do you think about the accuracy of the sound first?
So yeah, I mean, I heard that sound and I thought, you know, I don't know how rough sounds. So I watched 2 videos and obviously we compared the 2, and it was quite accurate actually. I didn't hear the dump valve as much, but it did sound accurate. In
I've
the
heard a
overall.
Yellowbird in real life.
So you must know how it
Do you
sounds.
go cheap? Oh come on! That wasn't that bad.
I just facepalm there for the camera. The non-existent camera. But no, it sounds very accurate. There is one thing that I thought was a little bit off, and that was I found that the volume wasn't completely balanced. Some things were a bit too loud, some things were a bit too quiet. Apart from that, the sound is pretty accurate. You can tell it's a flat 6 engine. manhandling it again through the corners. Now the big question is, do you like the sound of a flat six engine?
Well, I do love my inline six engines. I don't know if there's a difference between flat six and inline six. All I know is, I mean, is there a difference in sound, or is it just that?
Yeah, it would sound differently
Yeah,
because it's one's longitudinally mounted, one's transversely
Yeah,
mounted.
so I mean, that's what I always thought, that inline six was in line with the car, and flat was just literally like that. But
No, that's a boxer. You're thinking of a boxer. Oh, fan, I crashed
Oh
it.
boy.
There you go.
And I think what we'll do is
But-
we'll go to the replays now while we finish off talking about this. So, if we look at the sound,
yeah,
and we're saying that the sound is there, the sound is, you'll know it's a six-cylinder, but it'll sound
It
slightly
sounded-
different.
yeah, it sounded quiet in some areas, like you said, and then it also sounded loud in some areas. So I guess it is a bit unbalanced, but in overall sound, I'd say it's an okay sounding car. I wouldn't say it's
And I
brilliant.
think in terms of accuracy of sound, I'd probably give them about 9 out of 10 for accuracy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, accuracy. Yeah.
Accuracy 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Physics, I'd probably give them a good 9 out of 10
Yeah.
on physics as well. And I think in terms of looks,
Looks. Yeah, I think.
they've got it spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 on looks. Well done to Kunos for that.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll leave you with a final lap in the replay mode without us talking, so you can enjoy the sound. Thank you very much for watching this video. We hope you have a new year. Happy New Year. We hope you have a new year. Of course you've got to have a new year. We hope you have a happy new year, and we'll join you in the next episode of Assetto Corsa, where we are hopefully going to be reviewing the Seat Leon FR mod.